Session work, and Jeff was in bands, and then Jeff was in the Yardbirds, and then I was in the Yardbirds with Jeff.
From what I know of Jeff, you know, he's either fixing his cars or playing the guitar. There's no in-between for him.
In the pantheon of guitar gods, few figures commanded as much respect and fear as Jeff Beck. The innovative virtuoso who revolutionized rock guitar wasn't just a technical master who pushed the boundaries of what 6 strings could do. He was also a notoriously difficult perfectionist whose impossible standards and volcanic temper reportedly made him one of the most hated musicians among his peers.
Heartbroken, shattered.
Didn't even
done.
look at you. Not a glance.
I didn't know that he...
That was a 5.
Behind the groundbreaking solos and genre-defying experimentation lurked a man with zero tolerance for mediocrity and a razor-sharp tongue that could destroy careers with a single cutting remark.
And Chris was better on bass than Jimmy, so then I shot myself in the foot because I had to put up with him.
Beck didn't just dislike certain approaches to music. He actively despised what he saw as lazy musicianship and commercial sellouts who prioritized fame over artistic integrity. Welcome to another explosive episode where we expose the hidden animosities that shaped rock history. Today, we're revealing the shocking truth about the 5 musicians who reportedly couldn't stand Jeff Beck's arrogant perfectionism and condescending attitude toward anyone he deemed musically inferior. The Surrey-born guitar wizard who gave us classics like Blow by Blow and Wired had a legendary reputation for burning bridges with fellow musicians, and the reasons will absolutely astound you. From former bandmates who fled his tyrannical leadership to guitar legends who resented his dismissive attitude, Beck's enemies list reads like a who's who of rock royalty. So prepare yourself as we count down the 5 legendary artists who allegedly despised everything Jeff Beck represented. These weren't just creative differences or professional disagreements. These were deep personal resentments that lasted for decades and shaped the competitive landscape of rock guitar forever. 5. Rod Stewart. Coming in at number 5 on our countdown is a feud that destroyed one of rock's most promising partnerships. Rod Stewart, the raspy-voiced superstar who became one of rock's biggest entertainers, reportedly developed a bitter hatred for Jeff Beck that stemmed from their explosive collaboration in the Jeff Beck Group during the late 1960s.
The rumor was that Jeff Beck was really a prick to work with. Was he difficult?
Did you say that?
Yes. Well, you say it.
The animosity allegedly began during the recording of Truth in 1968, when Beck's perfectionist demands clashed with Stewart's more relaxed approach to music making. According to rock journalist Chris Welch, Stewart reportedly told session musicians, "Jeff thinks every note has to be perfect, but he forgets that rock and roll is supposed to have soul." The man's turned music into a mathematics exam. What particularly infuriated Stewart was Beck's controlling attitude in the studio and on stage. While Stewart wanted to develop his own stage presence and vocal style, Beck was reportedly treating him like just another sideman in his backing band. Industry insiders claim this led to explosive arguments about creative direction and billing. The final breaking point allegedly came during their 1969 American tour when Beck reportedly criticized Stewart's stage performance in front of other band members, leading to a backstage confrontation. Witnesses claim Stewart stormed out, allegedly telling Beck, "I don't need a guitar teacher who thinks he's God. Find yourself another puppet." The aftermath was devastating for both careers in the short term. Stewart reportedly spent years publicly dismissing their collaboration, telling journalists that working with Beck was like being in a band with a musical dictator who crushed everyone's creativity. For Stewart, Beck had apparently turned what should have been a creative partnership into a master-servant relationship, making their split one of rock's most acrimonious breakups. 4. Eric Clapton. Landing at number 4 is perhaps the most legendary guitar rivalry in rock history. Eric Clapton, the blues purist once called God by his fans, reportedly harbored deep resentment toward Jeff Beck that lasted for decades.
He actually is never changed, and I mean, unlike myself, who's been kind of wandering around a lot of the time.
Fueled by professional jealousy and what Clapton saw as Beck's pretentious abandonment of blues tradition for experimental showboating. The bad blood allegedly started in the mid-1960s when both guitarists were emerging from the British blues scene. According to music historian John Mayall, Clapton reportedly told fellow musicians, "Jeff's got the technique, but he's lost the soul. He's treating the guitar like a science experiment instead of an instrument of emotion. Real blues comes from suffering, not from a laboratory." What made this rivalry particularly intense was their competing claims to guitar supremacy. While Clapton built his reputation on faithful interpretation of American blues masters, Beck was achieving acclaim with what Clapton reportedly called circus tricks. Innovative techniques that, in Clapton's traditionalist view, sacrificed emotional authenticity for technical flash. The tension reportedly reached its peak during a 1975 recording session where both guitarists were present. Industry witnesses claim Clapton walked out when Beck began demonstrating his latest experimental techniques, allegedly muttering, "I came here to play music, not watch a magic show." The feud continued for years, with both guitarists taking subtle digs at each other in interviews. Clapton reportedly maintained that Beck had forgotten why the guitar was invented, while Beck allegedly dismissed Clapton as a museum curator who's afraid to push boundaries. Their rivalry apparently represented a fundamental split in guitar philosophy: tradition versus innovation, emotion versus technique, blues purity versus experimental fusion. For these two giants, there was apparently no middle ground. 3. Jimmy Page. Sliding into number 3 is a rivalry that split British rock guitar down the middle. Jimmy Page, the mystical mastermind behind Led Zeppelin's thunderous sound, reportedly developed an intense dislike for Jeff Beck that stemmed from their shared history in the Yardbirds and what Page saw as Beck's arrogant dismissal of anyone he considered beneath his technical standards.
And he said, "No, it's Jimmy's album. What do you think?" I went, "Well, I'm very flattered because half the songs are the same kind of treatment, you know."
The animosity allegedly began during their overlapping time in the Yardbirds, where both guitarists competed for the lead role. According to rock historian Greg Russo, Page reportedly told session musicians, "Jeff thinks being technically superior gives him the right to look down on everyone else. The man's confused skill with wisdom, and it's made him insufferable to work with." What particularly galled Page was Beck's attitude toward collaborative music making. While Page believed in serving the song and working as part of a team, Beck was reportedly treating every musical situation as an opportunity to demonstrate his individual brilliance. Industry insiders claim this fundamental difference in approach led to constant tension. The conflict reportedly exploded during a 1966 recording session where Beck allegedly criticized Page's playing in front of other musicians, leading to a heated exchange about musical priorities. Witnesses claim Page stormed out, allegedly telling Beck, "I'd rather play with musicians who understand that ego serves music, not the other way around." The rivalry continued even after both achieved superstar status with their respective bands. Page reportedly told friends that Beck had the talent of a genius but the attitude of a spoiled child, while industry veterans claim Page deliberately avoided projects where Beck might be involved. For the Led Zeppelin architect, Beck apparently represented everything toxic about musical virtuosity without humility, making their relationship irreparable. 2. Keith Richards. Burning into number 2 is perhaps the most philosophically opposed feud on our list. Keith Richards, the immortal Rolling Stones guitarist and keeper of rock's rebellious spirit, reportedly despised Jeff Beck for what he saw as the complete opposite of everything rock and roll should represent: raw passion replaced by clinical perfection. The hatred allegedly began in the early 1970s when both guitarists were at the height of their powers but pursuing completely different musical directions. According to Rolling Stone journalist Robert Greenfield, Richards reportedly told drinking companions, "Beck's turned rock guitar into a bloody science experiment. The man's so busy showing off his technique that he's forgotten rock and roll is supposed to come from the guts, not from a practice room. What infuriated Richards was Beck's approach to live performance and recording. While Richards embodied rock's dangerous, unpredictable energy through raw power and streetwise attitude, Beck was achieving acclaim with what Richards reportedly called conservatory rock, highly polished performances that prioritize technical excellence over emotional authenticity. The animosity reportedly came to a head during a 1973 London recording session where both guitarists were present. Industry witnesses claim Richards made deliberately provocative comments about guitar players who think they're in an orchestra, leading Beck to allegedly respond that some musicians prefer precision to sloppiness. The exchange reportedly escalated until both men left the studio. Richards' contempt wasn't just about musical style, it was cultural warfare about rock's soul. He reportedly saw Beck as representing rock's intellectualization, turning a working-class art form into middle-class entertainment. For the ultimate rock outlaw, Beck had apparently committed the unforgivable sin, making rock music safe, predictable, and emotionally sterile. The Stones guitarist allegedly told friends that Beck represented everything wrong with modern guitar playing: all technique and no heart, all flash and no substance. 1. Ritchie Blackmore. Taking the top spot in our countdown is the ultimate clash of guitar egos that defined an entire era of rock rivalry. Ritchie Blackmore, the theatrical mastermind behind Deep Purple and Rainbow. The feud's roots allegedly trace back to the late 1960s British guitar scene, where both players were establishing their reputations.
Whereas in our day, we'd plug into the back of the radio of a 2-watt radio. Yeah.
According to rock journalist Jeff Barton, Blackmore reportedly told session musicians, "Beck thinks his technique makes him superior to everyone else, but he's forgotten that music is supposed to move people, not impress them. He's turned the guitar into a computer that happens to have strings." What made Blackmore's hatred particularly intense was Beck's alleged dismissiveness toward other guitarists' approaches. While Blackmore was developing his own theatrical style combining classical influences with heavy rock, Beck was reportedly making condescending comments about guitarists who relied on gimmicks rather than pure technique. The animosity reportedly exploded during a 1971 recording session where Beck allegedly criticized Blackmore's use of classical elements in rock music, calling it musical theater for people who can't handle real innovation. Industry witnesses claim Blackmore responded by walking out, allegedly telling studio engineers, "I don't take musical advice from someone who's confused showing off with artistic expression." The rivalry continued for decades, with both guitarists taking shots at each other in interviews. Blackmore reportedly maintained that Beck was technically brilliant, but musically soulless, while sources claim he deliberately avoided any projects where Beck might be involved. For Blackmore, Beck apparently represented the worst aspects of musical elitism: technical perfection without emotional connection, making their feud a battle between heart and mind that neither could win. Industry insiders claim the hatred was so intense that Blackmore would refuse to discuss Beck in interviews, calling him a machine pretending to be a musician. And there you have it, the 5 musicians who reportedly despised Jeff Beck's perfectionist attitude. Which guitar feud shocked you most? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe for more explosive rock rivalries.